तनुमनिषं शङ्करं नाद तनुमनिषं शङ्करं नाद तनुमनिषं शङ्करं नमामि मे मनसा शिरसा नाद तनुमनिषं शङ्करं नमामि मे मनसा शिरसा नाद तनुमनिषं मोदकर निगमोत्तम साम वेदसारं वारं वारं नाद तनुमनिषं सत्योजातादि पञ्चवक्त्रज सत्योजातादि पञ्चवक्त्रज सरिगमपदनी वरसप्तस्वर सत्योजातादि पञ्चवक्त्रज सरिगमपदनी वरसप्तस्वर विद्यालोलं सरिगमपदनी वरसप्तस्वर विद्यालोलं विदलितकालं विमलहृदयत्यागराजपालं नाद तनुमनिषं शङ्करं नमामि मे मनसा शिरसा नाद तनुमनिषं Namaste. I'm happy to welcome you to this course on appreciating Carnatic music. We are here in the beautiful campus of IIT Madras in the Durga Piliaman temple, which has its unique ambience situated on a small hillock, as it were. The song you just heard, Nadatanum Anisham Shankaram Namami Manasa Shirasa. This is a well-known composition in Carnatic music. Many things can be said about this composition. First of all, that it is a kriti. Kriti is a kind of composition in Carnatic music. We can also say that this kriti was composed by Tyagaraja, an 18th century poet-composer, a Vaggeyakara as we call them. We can say that this composition was in the raga Chittaranjani. Chittaranjani as a raga has certain unique features to it. We can also say that the composition is in Aditalam, and the graha or the edup is half matra into the tala cycle. We can say all this and much more about compositions such as this. We'll talk about all these concepts during the course, and hopefully at the end of this course you will be comfortable with such descriptions. At the level of the text of the composition, it should be obvious to most Indians at least that it is in the language Sanskrit, and it is in praise, it's addressed to Lord Shiva as Shankara. Nadatanum Anisham Shankaram Namami. It is interesting that Tyagaraja refers to Shiva, Shankara, as Nada Tanu. Tanu means body. Nada, while it is a very difficult word to translate because it is laden with metaphysical, mystical connotations, it is an esoteric concept almost. For our purposes, Nada can be translated as musical sound. So, to call Shiva Nada Tanu means calling him the embodied musical sound. I chose to begin our course with this composition, partly in keeping with an ancient tradition of beginning any new venture with a prayer. And this song, this Kriti, is particularly apt because it is in praise of Shiva as the embodiment of Nada or musical sound. It is also significant and interesting that the composition, these concepts in the composition echo similar ideas, similar concepts found across centuries across the country. From Kalidasa to Abhinavagupta, the 10th century Kashmiri philosopher, aesthetician, to Sharangadeva, the 12th century musicologist. In fact, Sharangadeva, who also was of Kashmiri origin but who lived in the Deccan region, Sharangadeva, in his very, very famous work, Sangeeta Ratnakara, he begins this work with a Mangalacharan, with a prayer, in which he uses almost the same terms. The last line of the Mangalacharan of Sharangadeva in Sangeeta Ratnakara is Vande Nadatanum Tamuddhura Jagat Geetam Mude Shankaram. And it is interesting that 6 centuries later in Tanjavur, Tyagaraja uses almost the same identical expressions. Nadatanum Anisham Shankaram Namami. Such ideas and such concepts were transmitted through a process of osmosis, because there is no evidence to suggest that Tyagaraja actually had read the Sangeeta Ratnakara or the Abhinavagupta's, any of Abhinavagupta's works. The other reason that I thought this composition is a good starting point for us is that there is this explicit reference to the Saptaswaras, the 7 notes. Sarigama Padani Parasaptaswara. And it is with these Saptaswaras, the 7 notes, that our journey begins. What is the basic working material for a musician? For a painter, for instance, it is colors, lines. For a poet, it's words, sentences. For a sculptor, it could be stone or wood. For an architect, it could be bricks. For a musician, yes, it is notes or swaras. It has been observed by many, and rightly so, that as far as musical material goes, these swaras, these notes, these find use only in the activity of music, unlike the material of other art forms. For instance, a poet uses words, but a non-poet, like for instance I am also using words, and this is not a poetic activity. We use stones for other purposes than sculpting. But swaras, notes, are used only for music making. So, as far as material goes, musical material is unique to music. This is an interesting aspect of the art of music. And it is these 7 swaras that form the basis for the bewildering variety of music that we hear today. Whether it is the music of M.S. Subbulakshmi or Bhimsen Joshi or Pavarotti, whether it is Rahman's Jai Ho or Adele's Skyfall, all this variety of music that we hear today, all of it stems from just these 7 swaras. And this variety is due to the difference in how these notes are treated, how they are handled. Sure, there are other factors that make for the difference between different genres of music. Rhythm, for instance, plays a very important part in the identity of a musical genre. But certainly in stylized musical forms like Carnatic or Hindustani music or opera music, it is the handling of the notes that is fundamentally responsible for the identity of that musical form. More about this musical material, the swaras, in our next.